How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Fear Street True Evill. This is just put out by Simon Pulse this year, and it collects the original Fear Street Cheerleaders Trilogy. That would be the first Evill, the second Evill, and the third Evill, which were originally published August, September, and October of 1992, and is written by R.L. Stine. Now, I talked about these books individually as I read them, but I figured with this bind-up out, and since I had read all three of them, I should probably talk about the trilogy as a whole. I'll be trying to avoid major spoilers, which is a little difficult when you're trying to talk about all three parts of a trilogy, but don't worry, I'll be avoiding as many as I can. But anyway, this is good. This is Fear Street's first trilogy. Trilogies would become a thing that they did semi-regularly, and Simon Pulse does already have a release out for the second trilogy, Fear Street Saga. And I thought this was pretty fun. You know, with regular Fear Street books, you get to know the characters, they have an adventure, and it's over. And if they're Corey and Lisa, then maybe they'll pop up again from time to time, but getting the same set of characters across three books, it's really good. You get to know them, you get to know who they are, and you get to see the trauma after each book that they've experienced and how they react to living through a Fear Street book. I really like how these characters, in particular Corky, will change how they are from the beginning of the book, becoming jaded over time, making new friends, new enemies, and having their perspective shift, where your lead is a very different person from the first page of book 1 to the last page of book 3, and there is a good bit of growth, and plus, people die in this series. You'll have someone who survived book 1 only to die in book 2 or 3, and that is really good with much more tension, knowing that your characters from the first book might not be safe. And overall, yeah, it is good. I wasn't sure going into this because I'm not a big sports fan and I'm not a big fan of the whole Mean Girls thing. I wasn't sure if this would be for me. And yeah, there is some drama in here, but Stine makes sure all the drama is earned, and when there's a sense of conflict, you can see why these two characters clashed with each other, so it's not just snarky Mean Girl stuff. And first and foremost, it is a Fear Street book. You're going to get the horror front and center, and it really isn't a good idea. You know, doing a trilogy of books facing off against a common enemy, the evil, a mysterious, very powerful evil spirit, and having these girls over the course of each book, not only do more people know about it, but they're quicker to go, oh no, it's back, and try to figure out how to stop it, and they start to see the stakes more and more clear with each book, and the fact that it keeps coming back really does make it feel like, you know, like how Jason Voorhees keeps coming back after you think you've knocked him down, and it does make the evil, despite being kind of a vague character, a very threatening and hard to stop character, and I really did like that. I guess without further ado, let's talk about the plot in a little bit more specifics. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, as I said earlier, but I do want to talk about a few plot points, do a bit of analysis, but I'll try to avoid going too far. Anyway, the series opens up with two sisters moving to a nice little creepy house on Fear Street, of course, and the two sisters are Bobby and Corky, and they're professional cheerleaders. They were on like ESPN and stuff, and that's their thing, is they're really good. That's gonna kind of make waves when they go to Shady Side High. they get in when technically they weren't supposed to be able to, and they really push down a lot of the shady side high kids that were the best on the team before, and now they have this competition. So you're gonna get some drama there. However, things kick off when one day all the cheerleaders are on this bus going to a cheerleading meet. It starts to rain and the bus crashes, and the captain of the cheerleader team gets shot out of the bus and smacks right into Sarah Fear's grave. Yeah, opening up on a scene like that. That happens in the first book. The cheerleader captain's in a wheelchair now. Everybody's trying to move on from the accident, but with the captain gone, the seats start to shift power. But of course, disturbing Sarah Fear's grave, that's not a good thing. An ancient evil is unleashed and is going to start plaguing the girls. There's going to be terrifying visions, which normally visions I'm like, oh, it's just a vision, whatever. There's some very creepy and surreal visions in this book. In particular, later on in this series, one of the girls has a dream about a dead body floating over her in bed. Yeah, even the visions are scary. But there's things that go beyond that. The spirit can influence people, like one of the girls gets her hand possessed and spills scalding hot water all over her other hand. It can manipulate you, which can lead to like cheerleading accidents. Again, in book 3, there's a cheerleading accident that turns out very, very brutal. And brutal accidents, brutal things that seem like accidents at least, leading all the way up to death. And that is one thing. There is death in the series. None of your characters are safe. And you really do get the sense of, knowing these people over the course of a few books and hoping the evil spirit doesn't get them. Book 1, it starts out a little bit slow with just a few of these visions, but also figuring out what's going on. But when book 1 heats up in that last act, there is a big gut punch that leads right into this epic finale. Book 1 really does heat up, and book 2 is fun as well. There's in particular a science lab scene where one of the girls is left alone in a biology lab and things go absolutely Evil Dead 2 in there. It's an all-time classic Fear Street scene. And then book 3, we even get a bit of the book taking place at cheerleader camp to shake things up. But also with book 3, the stakes get really high. When you figure out what the evil's trying to do in that book, yeah, we're leading to a potentially very dark and dangerous finale here. And that is also a thing, is this isn't one book chopped up into 3 pieces. It very much is one book with 2 sequels, and that is kind of interesting, because, you could have just wrote a long book, chopped it off, to be continued, but each book in this version of doing things has its own little finale, but also when it returns, this reoccurring sense of dread that, oh no, the evil isn't really dead, we're starting everything all up, here we go again. And each book will have their own uniquenesses. There may have been a little time that passed, shakes up relationships, so it is interesting, and I really do like it. Like I said, when book 3 gets to its point at about like halfway, and you realize what the evil's doing there, you're really just absolutely glued, and the stakes of all the previous 3 books really come together. But yeah, I do like that, seeing the same characters, seeing the same evil, and just having that high stakes, and really getting involved in a more direct series than Fear Street had previously done with all its episodic work. It shakes things up, it's interesting, and you do really get into it. Now that being said, this is the original Fear Street Cheerleaders Trilogy. Stine would do more with this. He would make 2 more Fear Street Cheerleaders books in the Super Chillers line, so 4 and 5, but he would also do an origin story, in the Fear Street Sagas line. So technically, please Simon Pulse, I would love to see another Fear Street Cheerleaders bind up with 4 and 5 and then essentially the origin story. Like True Evil 2 or maybe New Evil. I would love to get another one of these because the Cheerleaders books can get a little hard to find and I do want to read them all. So fingers crossed for that. But overall, I had a blast with this series. I do have the saga bind up as well. And here's also hoping that we get bind ups for the other Fear Street trilogies. Love to have them all in one place. But anyway, good book. Can definitely recommend it. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. How about my Fear Street Cheerleaders playlist? If you want to see my reviews for any of the individual books in here, you should hopefully be able to find that in here. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Cheerleaders playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.